Hey, EJ here from ejlove.com and Soul TV. I am just going to share this across to my page before we get started so no one misses out. But I have a very out there topic to talk about today. It is all about how to have an authentically empowered pussy. And I don't mean a cat, although I do have my, I can't even touch it properly. Oh, it's not like a mirror. My bling bling empowered pussy ears, I'm calling them, on. So I'm just going to share this onto my Facebook profile. So if you're there, please say hello. Please feel free to reach out, and hopefully you're not too shy to say hello. And I have a group. I'm going to share this across to my group. I have a group called Soulful Sexual Woman. So these are for women who are really committed to exploring their sexuality, who are wanting to heal themselves on a sexual level as well. So I'm just going to share that in there too. So I have a little something that I have to admit. I've been in total resistance around doing this live stream. I promised it about 5 days ago. I said that I would do this live stream, and I got heaps of responses of people like, yes, please do this live stream, and we would love to hear about pussy empowerment. And I said I'll do it on Halloween, and it's now like the 2nd of November, so we've got to go past that a little bit. So I've been in resistance, but I'm here and I'm ready to do it. And I even wrote some notes just in case, because I was in a bit of a story that I didn't, know enough, or what if I said something wrong. And I guess it's learning to accept that, we all come from different spaces, and I'm not here to tell you that this is how it is. I'm here to share my experiences and how I have empowered myself sexually and learn to really connect to where my sexuality is driven from, which is really what pussy empowerment is about. It's really about empowering ourselves and really, thank you, Kathy, in a really healthy way. Because what I've really noticed, I actually recently got back from a retreat called Awakening Men, which was amazing, by the way. I've done a post on that already, so I would really go check that out. And something that really came up for me massively was this whole idea that more so something that I've really noticed, but something that I had to really own, and I knew it was there, and I've done some stuff around it already, but it really became present for me, was how often, we talk about, power to the pussy and pussy power, and how how pussy is power, right? But I think what has happened is we've become very almost over in a way of like unconsciously using as a form of power and control of others, of men in particular, to keep ourselves safe. So let me give you a little example, right? So basically, when I was younger, I was very frigid and a bit shy, and didn't really know how to what the hell I was doing when it came to sex, like no clue. And I was, I was a late bloomer, let's say, because obviously now not so shy, right? A lot of people would find it super hard to believe. But I remember the first time I actually got asked, a guy asked me, I was 16 at the time, if I would give him a blowjob, and I was like, what the fuck? I have no idea how to do that. Like, oh, what if I get it wrong? And I hadn't even seen a penis in real life. And meanwhile, my friend was on the side of the road giving his friend a blowjob. So it's like that expectation, right? And so I was like, oh, no, I don't know. Like, I wouldn't say I didn't know. I can't even remember what I said, but I just kind of freaked out. And so after that, a couple of weeks later, I hadn't heard from him. And a few weeks later, I saw him out, and I asked him, I was like, okay, so, are we going to go out again or what? And he was like, no. And so in that moment, I really made a decision subconsciously. I've grown to learn this, that I had to please men to keep them, or for them to like me or love me, or to be of some sort of worth. I had to please them sexually. And of course, blowjobs kind of became my thing. And it was that whole pleasing. And so eventually I went on to a relationship, but my partner would like, my ex-partner would, he would, you know, just disappear and I wouldn't hear from him and he'd just ignore me. And it was just a weird, very weird situation. But um, I was always like, kind of chasing him, and then he would always, I'd always be able to get him back with one thing. Well, actually two things. The first thing was sex, and the second thing was money. So providing for him, or providing him with sex, basically. And so I really associated my self-worth with sex and money. So, and that's like, I felt like that was all I was worth. I felt like all I was worth to men was, as long as I provided sex and had money, then I would be worth something. And so I went on to make sure in my life that I would always be, that would always be something that I would be able to provide. And yeah, so I went on, after that split up, I went in and I went on this crazy, like crazy phase of, you know, just a rampage of, you know, lots of one night stands, not wanting connection with anyone, and just, you know, sowing my wild oats. And I thought I was empowered. I thought that I was, you know, this crazy, wild, sexual woman, that, you know, kind of had one up on men. It was like, no, they're not using me for sex. I'm using them for sex. Like, hello. And I would not want their numbers. I would not want to date them. I was just like, get out of my house. I was like, I mean, I used to live with my dad. And I'd bring guys home all the time. And then, like, 'cause my dad had a couple of boats in the driveway, and they'd be like, oh, you know, talking about boats. And I'm like, stop talking to my dad. Get out. Like, I'm like, stop making a connection. And then at one point, my dad said to me, EJ, I think maybe you're bringing too many guys home. So I was like, oh, yeah, that was pretty funny. But I think I moved out after that. But anyway, yeah, it was interesting. But I felt like it would feel really good, and I get that really high of, and it was like different guys all the time, every weekend, sometimes more than one in a night. And you know, so for example, if I went back to a guy's house and he would be like, okay, you can go now. I'm like, okay, and then I just go to someone else's house, like that. Seriously, it was like, yeah, all good. Like, and it's because I didn't have to feel the pain underneath. Like, as long as I had, you know, a few different guys at least on the go, you know, it would be fine. There'd always be someone there to give to provide, to please, and to feel some sort of worth, if I was doing that, right? So, you know, I thought that I had this power. Like, I thought that I was this, you know, this sexual, like, woman, and that men loved that, and that, you know, probably some people would associate the word slut, which I've reclaimed as a sexually liberated with unlimited talents. I see it in a different way, because I don't like it used being derogatory, as a derogatory way, because I think we should embrace our sexuality, but we need to learn what is, where is it coming from? Okay, and that's the first step to having an authentically empowered pussy, which I'll get to soon. But yeah, so these are the things that I've noticed is what happens, and especially present for a lot of younger women. I think we really need to start talking this shit about this shit. Not shit, it's not shit. It's awesome. About this stuff in schools. Like, this is the type of sex education that we need to be teaching, especially young girls, is around, you know, consent and boundaries, and not having to please to be of value, to be of worth. And because, you know, women are so put in these, you know, sexualized ways that that gives in magazines and media, and we put them on the pedestal. You know, the more sexy a woman is, the more wanted she is. So I used to go out to clubs with the shorter skirt and the, you know, the short cut top, and I'd get the attention. I'd walk into a club and guys would, you know, just stare at me, and it would make me feel good. And I'd, you know, that my ego would be like, I'm getting this attention, I'm wanted, I'm of value. And, you know, I still see that. I go out all the time and I see that, and I was like, I wasn't like that, was I? Was I really like that? And I was like, yeah, actually, I'm pretty sure I was, and I was probably a little bit worse. But, you know, it's all part of the learning, right? But I think that it's really important that we start talking about this stuff more openly, and especially when it comes to honoring and loving our JJs. So, yeah, so basically I see, you know, there's this unconscious pussy power, right? Uh, yeah, totally. Um, and, you know, so it really is, you know, when we are using it as a way to feel control, to feel power, to feel worth, okay, and to feel wanted. And we're using our sexuality in that way, okay? And then what I've also noticed, and this is where, some shadow stuff comes in, is that, say you're walking into a club and these guys, give you this attention, and one of them comes up to you. And funnily enough, I was actually kind of a little bit shy, but like the way I looked was not really, could come off really confident underneath. Like I would never go up and approach someone ever. Like it was like, whoa, cannot get rejected, but I still like the attention, right? So, so what I've noticed is that then these men might come up and show their sexual desire and be like, oh, you're sexy or whatever. And then automatically, maybe the walls go up or the energy goes up and it's like, whoa, back off, buddy. Like, get out of my space, right? So it's that feeling of wanting to be wanted, but then actually like pushing it away, and then the men get rejected, and then we even shame them for it. We like make them bad, we make them wrong, and even maybe we'll tell our girlfriends, oh, I can't believe that dude did this, or whatever it is. Like, I used to get pinched on the bum all the time. It happens in clubs, right? All the time. And I just like roll my eyes, like fuck off kind of thing. Like, but at the same time, I was like, oh yeah, like I'm getting attention. So I know this is very common, by the way. So if you can resonate to this, let me know. Don't be shy. And let's not make ourselves wrong and bad either. Okay, it's just being aware of it, and being able to go in and look at that part of us. So, so the thing is, though, we think we're empowered. We think we're strong, sexual, independent women who know what we want, but we're actually giving our power away. Like, because it's not really who we are, right? So, and most of the time, you're actually super disconnected from your pussy. It's like a tool. Like for me, it was like a tool. And I never spent any time loving her. I did not give her any attention outside of what I was getting from men. Like, and if it was like I was just so disconnected, especially like there was no heart connection. And I didn't even understand what boundaries were and how to like honor my boundaries. And I mean, I can't honor them if I don't know what they are, right? So, yeah, and so I did lots of crazy things. I was even a swinger at one point. I ran swingers parties. And so, again, I can just look back and see I was just really looking for so much validation. And there's a lot of, it's interesting, there's a lot of value that tends to be put on a woman who, like a lot of wanting for a woman who wants to explore sexually, but at the same time, we then shame her for it, right? And call her a slut. So it's crazy, right? It's like whatever we do, we're going to be made wrong or bad. So it's like, let's get connected to ourselves, inside, and rather than worrying on looking outside for that validation. So how to have an authentically empowered pussy. I'm going to get tongue twisted with this, but the first thing is you want to identify, like, where is your pussy power coming from? Like, is it coming from a need for safety and protection, and needing to be valued, and worthy and feel wanted? Is it, and if that is true, which is super common, by the way, so don't make yourself bad or wrong. If it's true, like, where does that come from? Okay, because I can identify some of the things where that came from for me, and it was that I was too afraid to get connected emotionally. It was because I had that ex-partner that just seemed to, when I provided and pleased him, it was giving me a sense of self-worth. And so it was this lack of self-worth that I was feeling inside. So maybe it is because you've been touched inappropriately in the past, and you think to yourself, well, no one can touch me inappropriately if I'm the one in control and I'm telling them how it is. And then maybe you're not even aware of what you're okay with and what you're actually not okay with. Okay, so maybe you are trying to, maybe you're pretending something is what you want, when your body is actually saying no. So in your head, you might be like, if you're justifying something, or you're like, oh, this is okay, like I'll just let him do it. Like, your body is saying no, and you are totally disempowered. You're giving your power away. Like, I'll just do this to keep him happy. Like, he'll just be happy if I do this. Like, I know there's a lot of couples, um, that like with a lot of women that are in couples where they just do it just to have sex to keep their man happy. They're not actually there. They're not present. And there's lots of reasons why they get disconnected from that sex drive, and that's a whole other conversation. Um, but and if you are in that position and you do want some help with that, in my group, I do run a 7-day sexual healing challenge, and I also do a 4-week online program, which I've literally just started. But you can just PM me or comment if you want some more info on that, or you want to join the challenge in my group, which is free, by the way. So another question, to ask yourself is, do you feel any sort of guilt or shame after sex, or emptiness? Like, maybe you feel, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Maybe that was wrong. Maybe, yeah, maybe that should have not happened that way, or I should have said something, or, or I did just do that to please him. And so you want to sort of ask those questions as well to kind of identify if you are giving your power away and if you are not fully empowered in sex. So maybe it is because you are just afraid to get your emotions involved, and you use sex to avoid real connection. So you're actually going out and you're having sex with people because you're afraid to really have intimacy, because there's a difference between sex and intimacy. Like, that people really confuse that. You can have intimacy without sex, and you can have sex without intimacy. So, intimacy is like when you're really allowing yourself to deeply see each other and have that really deep connection. But, sex can just be a physical thing where maybe you're getting certain needs met. And so you want to look at, maybe you are just avoiding and making justifications and excuses of why you're doing that. Okay. So, and of course, are you really just trying to keep someone else happy, trying to please them, to make them like you, to be worthy? Okay. So these are just some of the questions to start thinking about, to really work out if you need to work on empowering your pussy. So I want to talk to consent and boundaries. Okay. So this is something I really, really, really strongly feel needs to be taught in school, both for men and women, because I'll give you a little example. Let's go into a little story. And if you can resonate to what I'm saying, let me know. Why is it that while you're having sex, yes, this can sometimes be enjoyable. Sometimes people are totally not okay with it. But it's called a thing called asking, right? So this for me is about it's about consent, all right? And just because someone liked it once, or your ex-partner liked it, or you like it, does not mean the next person is going to like it. Okay? And that kind of goes for a lot of things, not just the finger up the butt. That's just an example, right? But that's something that is like, oh, hang on a minute, right? And some people do like it. And you know what? Sometimes I'm like, yesterday I didn't like that, but today my body's a yes. But today my body says yes, I feel like that, right? So it depends on a lot of things, and it depends on how my body feels in the day. And what I liked yesterday is not what I like today. Like, I'm a feeling person. My body changes from day to day, right? So this is key to notice. So this is why we got to ask questions. This is why we've got to check in with people, but also we've got to tune in with our own bodies, because sometimes, we might think we might offend the person if we say no, or we might confuse them if we say, oh no, I like that, but I just not today, right? And they might get confused, right? And so we might worry that we're going to confuse them. But if you can have a conversation basically that says, hey, this is how I work, and I really, and I really enjoyed that, but you know what, today I'd really love this. This is what I'd love to experience. So what if you could kind of have that conversation, either during or before, or, checking in with each other, is this feeling good for you? Would you like something different? Is there something better that I can be doing? That gives us the availability to really communicate. Okay. So it's totally okay to communicate about sex during sex, as long as you're not making people telling them not what to do. I mean, in a way that is like, no, it's not pleasant if you're like, no, you're doing it wrong. That person's going to be like, whoa, okay. And they've just gone down on themselves, got a bit depressed because they're fucked up. And, you want to communicate it in a way, never talk about what's wrong in the bedroom, but it's totally okay to talk about what's right. So, yeah, so you can just encourage people to conversate. Like with my clients, like I actually do sessions where we talk about how to about consent and boundaries, how to give and receive touch, how to, and the difference between giving and receiving and taking and allowing, and also how to really tune into your body. Okay, so this is key because sometimes we might be thinking, oh yeah, this is okay, I could get used to it. And it's really often because we're actually so disconnected from our bodies. If someone asks you what you want and you're like, I don't know, just whatever, just do whatever you want to me. Well, actually you do know, but you're totally disconnected from your body. So you've got to start looking at how can you start tuning into your body. And this really comes back to getting connected to your pussy and getting connected to your heart and getting back in your body, which is a lot of things you can do. So what I also want to add here is if you're getting touched in a way that you're probably really not connected to or that you're really not wanting, there is no way that you can surrender to pleasure. So it's kind of like, what the fuck is the point, really? And you're not going to build trust with that person. And ultimately, the only way you can ever surrender to pleasure and to full orgasms, the only way is if you can trust. And you need to trust yourself first, okay? And this is key, okay? So to trust yourself, you have to know your body, you have to know your boundaries, and you have to feel comfortable to communicate them. Okay, if you do not have that, then you'll struggle to surrender to pleasure. Sometimes you might, but you'll struggle. Like it will be a struggle because if you know your boundaries and you can say no, then you're going to feel totally comfortable to fully surrender. Most women really struggle to surrender, and they just think it's easy to be in control. And guess what? When you surrender as well, that's when you have to be seen. That's when you have to be vulnerable. That's when you have to let go and go out of control. And sometimes that's pretty scary, right? Okay. So just be aware that, consent and boundaries is super powerful and important to fully be able to feel. Okay. I teach consent and boundaries as well in my Soulgasmic Women's program. And I also have Dr. Betty Martin as a guest expert, who is amazing, by the way. She talks about the Wheel of Consent that she created. And a lot of Tantra practitioners, sexual healers, and any sort of erotic educator use the Wheel of Consent. You go to most workshops and they'll be teaching it or using it in some form or another. I've tend to have found getting tongue twisted here in my experience. So if you want the details of that, just PM me or comment below. As I said, I've literally just started. There's still time to jump in, but otherwise the next one will be January, February. So of course, what you really want to do is you want to really connect to your vajayjay. You want to spend some time loving it. Really, we probably have everyone else loving it and spending time on it, and then we don't. Like, what the hell's going on? So, that includes things like conscious self-pleasure. And what I mean by that, that's not just a 2-minute rub one out. That is actually spending some time with different types of touch, gentle touch, soft touch, yoni massage, oils, putting in some candles and touching your full body, waking up your body with breast massage, all that kind of stuff. Not focusing on orgasm. I mean, it's fine to orgasm, but don't focus on it. Don't make it a goal. Okay, that's a very masculine way to be orgasm, and you're a woman, right? So, which is totally fine for you to be masculine too, but just saying, like, if you want to surrender to pleasure, you have to be in your feminine. If you're focused on goal, then that's masculine, right? So how are you supposed to surrender? So, and trust me, it's a way easier way of having sex. Like, when you and it's not a lazy either. I think that's another key thing is that, you know, people maybe have associated that with being lazy, but it's not at all. It's really just allowing yourself to surrender. And trust me, it's a really attractive thing is when a woman surrenders to pleasure, like drives a man freaking crazy. So mirror work is also good too. So that's consciously looking, taking some time to look at your vajayjay and appreciating it, loving it, speaking kindly to it. And touching all the different parts, you know, the outside, the vulva, the inner and outer labia, the G-spot, the cervix, just exploring all the different parts. You know, so often we only focus on one or two. The clit gets way too much attention, by the way. So if I was doing practice, I'd just spend some time lightly on that. I talk about yoni massage in the sexual healing challenge as well. And I actually guide you into how to do that practice. And of course, what you want to do is you want to tune into her. Okay, really tune into your vajayjay. Especially if you're receiving and maybe you're not feeling totally good. Like, you know, when you're feeling really comfortable with receiving, like, you know, when she's ready, like, because she's pretty wet, right? So if she's not, then she's probably not ready. So this is also why a lot of women have, most actually, have numbed out the JJs. It's because they've been penetrated before they're ready, or they've been penetrated without permission, or they've just gone with it, like, you know, just guys gone, you know, to enter without asking permission, which I think is another thing that would be great to be taught in schools, is to actually, you know, ask her. Even like when I'm with a man, like I'll check in with him before, I mean, not like most of the time, but the woman is the receptor, right? So she's the receptive and the man is penetrative. So it's really important that she's receiving that, you know, that she wants to receive, right? Otherwise she's not really receiving, she's being taken from. So yeah, so sometimes I'll check and I'll just ask something like, are you ready for me? Something like that. I'll just say, you ready for it? I'll say it in kind of a sexy way. Maybe not on Facebook. So yeah, and the eye contact, of course. So yeah, so also, you know, even when you're doing it yourself, like check in. Are you ready? Are you feeling, and is it a yes or is it a no or is it a maybe? And if it's maybe, it's a no. Okay, you want to be fully ready to be penetrated, whether that's with toys, whether that's with your own fingers, with guys' fingers, or partners, men, women, whatever your preferences, or anything. You know, maybe it's just any sort of penetration that you're receiving. You want to just check in, okay? If your pussy is ready for that, okay? So because that's, you're honoring it. You're honoring her, you're respecting her, you're loving her. It's just got to like really nurture. And this is when you'll feel safe to surrender to pleasure because you've been honored. Okay. So you gotta know your boundaries, be able to say no, you know, or that you're not ready yet, or maybe you need something else to be ready. You've got to spend time on yourself, on loving her and connecting to her, and, you know, deep breathing helps with that, breathing up into the heart and putting a hand on the heart, hand on the yoni from time to time to connect is really great. And of course, you know, you want to identify, where do you sit? Are you coming from an empowered place, like authentically, or are you using it as a form of control and to stay safe? Okay, so, and do you want to surrender to pleasure? Who wants to surrender to pleasure? Let me know, comment below if you want to freaking surrender to pleasure and feel a multitude of orgasms. Not just one or two, but like fully blissed out for like hours, having full body orgasms. Like, this is what is available, ladies. And if you're not having it, you're missing out. So I go through all of this stuff in my free sexual healing challenge. It's 7 days. It's in my group. If you haven't started it, get onto it, because you're in resistance. And my first 2 days talk about resistance, just like I was doing this live stream, but resistance is finished now. So I'm back into it. I've actually just, as I said, I've just done my first module in my program, which has just started, and you can PM me for the details of that. You can probably just jump in now. Also, I've got the amazing Sarah B. We're doing a live session on unlocking your orgasm blocks, we are looking to actually do an event too with the Love Doctor as well. So we're looking at doing some sort of live event sometime early next year, which is all about unlocking your orgasm blocks, which is going to be so much fun. Oh, it's going to be so, like, seriously so fun. And Sarah just like clears shit. This is actual shit she clears, like, energetically she can see stuff in your body that's coming up, and she just kind of clears it like that if you wanted to. So it's so cool, because you get the clearing for everyone in the room, or on the call. Everyone gets cleared for if you have similar things. So it's awesome. So yeah, so just, comment or PM me if you want more info on empowering your pussy. And if you want me to do more live streams like this, give me some love hearts, because I need to get past this resistance, because I have so much more to share. So I'm gonna keep doing it. And other than that, I encourage you to go connect with your vajayjay, pussy, yoni, vagina, whatever name you want to call it, make it your own. And just love her, embrace her, and be kind to her, and be gentle on yourself. And that's all for now. Much love, and I'll see you next time. Bye.